Hey y'all, it's Chris and welcome back to the Made South podcast. Today is Saturday, June 3rd, and on this day, bassist Too Slim of the acclaimed Western swing and comedy group Riders in the Sky is 75 years young. Now on this day in 1967, the legendary jockey Bill Shoemaker of Fabens, Texas won the 99th Belmont Stakes aboard the thoroughbred Damascus. And on that same day in 1967, Aretha Franklin's cover of the Otis Redding song, Respect, you may have heard of it. Well, it reached number one on the charts that year. And in 1993 on this date, June 3rd, they held the 66th National Spelling Bee, and 14-year-old Jeff Hooper of Arlington, Tennessee won by spelling the word kamikaze. And this today from the Tupelo Daily Journal, an obituary honoring Mr. David Allen, a local community member there, who passed away just a few days ago at the lovely age of 94. It says that Mr. David Allen, 94, died on Thursday, June 1, surrounded by the love of his family as he entered into eternity. Now, Mr. David Allen served our country. He joined the U.S. Marines in 1948, was subsequently awarded an education at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. But subject to severe seasickness, which he figured out while he was in the Navy, he was then commissioned in the U.S. Air Force in 1953, and he earned his pilot wings in jet fighters in 1955. He retired from the military as a command pilot in 1972. Mr. Allen was an active member of the Verona United Methodist Church, serving as a Sunday school teacher for more than 15 years. He is survived by his wife, 3 daughters, a son, 10 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. And he is particularly fond of a joke which ends at the funeral home where somebody says, "Look, he's moving." I thought that was hysterical. If you would like to celebrate the life of Mr. Allen, the celebration of life service will be held at 11 a.m. on Monday, June 5th in the Sadie Holland Memorial Chapel. Visitation will be from 10 a.m. to service time. Now I'd like to share with you briefly about one of my favorite things I've ever eaten. Now that might be a weird segue from the obituary of a man who I've never met who lives in Tupelo, Mississippi, but I think you'll get it here in a minute. I was in a liquor store talking to a friend of mine many, many years ago, probably, close to 10 years ago, and I was in there just kind of hanging out, and a gentleman who was checking out was telling the person who was checking him out a story about a friend of his who was on a motorcycle trip on the Natchez Trace. And he said he stopped off in Tupelo, Mississippi, and was staying over there a night. And he walked into a liquor store, and he saw on the shelf some Elijah Craig Big Red 12 bottles. Now, if you're into bourbon at all, the Elijah Craig Big Red 12 bottle, it was kind of an oddly shaped, old school shaped bottle. They've changed it since then. And it had a big red number 12 on the front because it was 12 years old. And this stuff was delicious. And it was inexpensive. But they hadn't made it for some time. And so it was fun for me to hear that, oh man, there's a store in Tupelo, Mississippi that still has a bunch of these old Elijah Craig Big Red 12s on the shelf. And so I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, your friend, did he say how many there were?" And he said, "Man, probably 20 or 30 of them." And I just couldn't believe that. And so here's what I decided to do. I decided to get in my truck and drive to Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, I didn't do it before I made a phone call. I did hop on the internet and I looked up a couple of liquor store phone numbers. I made phone calls, and sure enough, one guy said, "Yeah, we got a bunch of them. They're sitting right here on the shelf." And I was like, "I'll be there next week." And so I cleared it with my wife, and a few days later, I hopped in the truck one morning and I trucked it on down the Natchez Trace and ended up in Tupelo, Mississippi, and walked in that liquor store, and I ended up buying 26, all they had, of those Elijah Craig Big Red 12-year-old bourbon bottles. Delicious. I don't have any more of them. I wish I did. But while I was there, I wandered across the street to this place called the Neon Pig. It just kind of caught my eye. And walked in the place, sat down at the bar. Nobody was in there. And I had a root beer and I had a smash burger. And I got to tell you, this smash burger was still to this day, is one of the most delicious things that I have ever eaten. And if you go on their website at neonpigtupelo.com, you will see famous smash burger. And apparently this thing, I just looked it up, some years back, won Best Burger in America. It's a smash grind. It's got Benton bacon bits all mixed in there. cheddar cheese, quick pickles, pickled onions, which, man, I think you got to have pickles and onions on there. Hoisin sauce. Now, that's an interesting one because hoisin sauce, if you look it up, Wikipedia talks about it's a thick, fragrant sauce commonly used in Cantonese cuisine as a glaze for meat or in addition to stir fry or as a dipping sauce. It's very dark colored, thick, almost like molasses type thickness, sweet and salty in taste. And so it definitely has kind of an Asian flair to it. But the Smashburger Neon Pig in Tupelo, Mississippi has that hoisin sauce on it. And then it also has comeback sauce, and it's on a ciabatta bun. And so I'm going to tell you, you can go on Google Neon Pig Smashburger, and you're going to find a ton of photos of this Smashburger. It's delicious. It is absolutely worth the trip to Tupelo, Mississippi. So the next time you hear anything about Elijah Craig, about a Big Red 12, about Smashburgers, think about the Smashburger at Neon Pig in Tupelo, Mississippi. Remember the story, and if you happen to be cruising through on the Trace, make a stopover in Tupelo, home of Elvis Presley. Maybe you've heard of him. And get yourself a Smashburger at the Neon Pig there. All right. Hope you're doing well. Love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.